doing now? You certainly won't be sitting on that.
Good afternoon, Dunmow. Welcome to the Flitch trials for 2024. Couple of house rules first of all. We don't have fire alarms because the trial is so old. We have to have the hue and cry. So any people with hats on, you'll see entrances each side. If there are problems, we'll evacuate, but hopefully not. The next problem we have is mobile phones. Can you all make sure they're switched off? Because if you have your programme, you'll see that the judge has made comment in his piece that says any phones that ring in the afternoon can be retrieved from the doctor's pond at the end of the trials. Thirdly, we have a raffle. So if you haven't bought your raffle tickets, between the trials, people will be passing amongst you to take your money off you, okay? Now, prior to the trials, we had an art competition, which went from the very young to the very old. And the winner of the adult section is here, this photograph, this painting here, which is an excellent painting, and she's actually donated it to the museum, so that will be here forever. Right, I think that's all for the moment, so let the trials begin.
Yes.
All rise for your judge. Citizens of Dunmow, welcome to the trials. The ancient court of the Flitch is now in session with Judge Daniel Pitt presiding. God save the King.
God save the King.
Pray silence for the court chaplain.
As we begin our afternoon session, we pray firstly for our colleague and friend to these courts, the Reverend Tom Wormington, and pray for his continued recovery. Almighty God, pray for this court that they will serve just as they ought, for maids and lads, and judge and jury, and our couple who come to share their story of love sung since ancient of days, and more recently by Swifties in Wembley. Help us in this trial to put it to the test And if it's a love story, just say yes. Amen.
Amen. Oh, hang on.
No, sit down.
I thought it was me.
Do you want to call the first claimants?
Have to have the jury.
Did we not do the referral?
Well, we had all of that stuff. The trial's already started better than the first trial this morning when I tripped over the stairs. So it's a fairly low bar, but we'll be okay. I think it's time to
Do the jury.
call the jury.
Swear the jury.
Are you sure?
Martin's been
we're right.
ushering for about 28 years now, so we've...
8 years.
I wish to object about the jury before we swear them in. I happened to witness the jury all in the pub earlier, and I saw them ordering things like a double gin and tonic and a vodka Red Bull, which does seem a tad vibey for lunchtime.
Mr. Clark.
Well, if I can respond to that objection. We've returned these trials as they should be to leap years, which means that the Dunmow Flitch Organising Committee has had 2 years to find 6 maidens in Essex. I mean, if they've got to be sober as well, then you're just giving them a task that's beyond them. And frankly, my lord, why should the jury be in any different state from the crowd?
That's Miss Stone's first trial, and you're very welcome here today, but once you've been through a whole day of these trials, you'll realise that anything other than having had a few drinks at lunchtime won't get you through the whole session. It's a positive advantage for the jury, so I'm afraid that objection is not upheld. Shall we swear in the jury?
Shall we?
Shall we?
Let's. Working up a sweat there. Right then, are all jury members present? Jolly good. As each name is called, the jurors rise and answer here, okay? And stay standing once you've risen. So we'll start with the bachelors. Henry Davis.
A bit louder. Here.
Yeah, you can shout at me if you like. Will Hale. Look at that.
Oh, much better.
Lewis Jenkins. Well done. Zach Shuttlewood. Charlie Smith and Fred Thurley. Lovely. And now the maidens. Lucy Keys. Emily Lewis Gibbons. Laura Romain. Rebecca Romain. Gabby Salmon. And Becky Watts. Pray silence while the jury is sworn. Oh, was it me again?
Raise your right hands.
Oh, yeah, raise your right hand and repeat after me. Sorry, I forgot that important bit this morning. I, as a member of this jury, do make oath that I will well and truly try all such persons as shall this day make claim to the bacon of Dunmow and true verdict give according to the evidence. Excellent. Have you appointed your foreman?
We have,
Your Honour, he's only the clerk.
Oh, that's true. Blimey, I've moved up again quite a lot. That's me done then.
Sit down.
And who is the foreman? You're the foreman? Excellent.
Yes, thank you. Your Honour.
It's actually my lord, but... who appears for the claimants?
My lord, I appear on behalf of the claimants, and I'm assisted by my learned friend, Mr. Ian Daniel.
That's Tim Clark, KC.
Tim Clark, King's
Now,
Counsel.
Mr. Clark was telling us this morning, I said you were Tim Clark QC last time, and he said, well, I'm Tim Clark KC, automatically upon the death of Her Majesty the Queen. You automatically become Tim Clark KC, and they automatically provide you with a sunshine band.
Yes.
And who appears for the Dungeons of the Bacon?
We do, my lord.
Oh.
Thank you. Sorry. Sticky. Sorry. She's off. Yes. With my learned friend, thank you very much indeed, Vicky, and I've forgotten your last name, Vicky Stone, myself, Sadie Nine, we will be, we're for the Flitch.
Doing brilliantly.
I'm
Lovely
doing
stuff.
brilliant. I think I'm better. I think I've peaked, actually. I think I've
We need some claimants.
And they are
Mr. and Mrs. Rolls.
Mr. and Mrs. Rolls.
Call Mr. and Mrs. Rolls.
Call Mr. and Mrs. Rolls. Anyone there? Oh, they're coming. We're here.
Here they come.
Have a round of applause for the claimants.
the glass.
Is that your? Is that so?
There you are, into the box. Okay, if you can raise your right hands and say after me. I swear that the evidence I shall give
I swear that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth,
and nothing but the truth,
in accordance with the ancient Flitch laws.
in accordance with the ancient Flitch laws.
Okay, hands down.
This is cosy.
Right, my lord, just to introduce the team for the claimants, there are actually 3 practicing lawyers up here on the stage. There's myself, my own friend Ian Daniels, and his lordship, Daniel Pitt. Only one of us is a KC. The other 2 do wear silk, but it's not quite so visible. Right, now. Starting then, please, could you, madam, give the court your name?
I'm Ilona Rolls.
And what's your occupation?
I'm an English teacher.
An English teacher. And then, sir, your name?
George Rolls.
And your profession is?
I'm a dentist and a student.
And so the first question is, which one of you's caused the most pain to children?
Physical.
So now, where were you, madam, when you met?
I was in a rehearsal for a student opera production.
And where was, what university was that you were at?
It was at King's College, London.
Right. And what year were you in at the time?
I was in first year.
And sir, what year were you in?
I was in my 3rd year.
Oh, it's like that then, was it? Right, I see. You've written down here about the first sight you had of each other's underwear. They chose to put it here. So can you tell us, Ilona, the first sight you had of George's underwear?
Yes, it was magical. We were, it was a pretty ropey production. I can't even remember what it was. But George was involved in a scene with a comedy pair of trousers. We weren't together at this point. I just had seen him from afar. And the trousers were supposed to fall down. And they were, I think, Christmas underwear, actually.
They were. They had Rudolph the reindeer on them.
Yeah. It was lovely.
Had a very red...
Very good.
Sorry, George, your first sight of your now wife's underwear. Do tell all these people about that, then, please.
Well, this was a slightly less ropey production we were both in. Again, before we were together, but Ilona was one of the dancing girls who was supposed to be doing a sort of revealing dance with ostrich feathers. And that was also coincidentally the first time my parents ever met her too.
So you weren't together after she saw your underwear, but you were after you saw hers.
Just
Yes.
about, yeah.
That's all right. Now, was at the time you met any impediment to you being in a relationship. George, was there any particular reason why such a relationship didn't immediately occur?
Well, the first few times I had seen Ilona in pubs and at parties and things, she was almost always accompanied by her flatmates, a girl called Lizzie, and they seemed to be very, very close. And so it took me several weeks, maybe several months, before I realised they in fact were flatmates and not partners.
Ah, I see. So we're not in the situation of having the first ever same-sex couple in 900 years at Dunmow applying for the Flitch.
Sadly not.
But
not right
this
now.
Space. Now, so tell us about your engagement, please, Ilona. What was... Sorry, actually, I think we're going to start with George on this. What was your memory of how you became engaged?
Well, it was during one of the COVID lockdowns, and I'd made the decision that I wanted to ask Ilona to marry me, but it was thwarted by the fact that it was a little bit difficult to get hold of a ring, and so I sort of patiently waited until the first day we were allowed sort of back into shops. And you know, I'd been looking at things online and calling up jewellers, and then on the first day we were allowed back into shops, I ran into a jeweller, and I think they took pity on me and helped me choose one that they thought would be nice for Ilona. Mm-hmm. And so that set, for me, the process that I was going to ask Ilona to marry me. And so I waited until a little bit later, when we were due to be spending the day with Ilona's family at their home, and I nervously waited all day before deciding to have a man-to-man with Ilona's father about asking to marry his daughter. And the end of the day came, and I thought, right, well, this is it, I need to do it. So I was feeling a bit worried, and so I found him as we were loading bags into my car to go home, and we had a man-to-man, slightly awkward chat about things. But in the background, I was aware of Ilona's mother, who had been carrying washing near enough in order to hear us. And I think I knew she'd got the gist of it when, like in a cartoon, the washing she was carrying went flying in the air, and she went sprinting off back into the house towards Ilona.
And what happened next, please, Ilona?
Well, what happened next was that she ran over to me and said, "Congratulations!"
And
and I said,
had George proposed at this stage to you?
No.
No.
So when the proposal actually happened, it wasn't a massive surprise.
But we had a very awkward car journey home with about 10 minutes of silence before I said, "I think your mum might have said something to you today."
Now, obviously, you became engaged and married, and I think you've told the organising committee something of the difficulties that have occurred since marriage. Do tell us a little bit about that, Ilona.
Yeah, well, we were, when we became engaged, George had just been accepted to carry on his training to become a medical student, but that was in Southampton, so it meant moving across the country. So we started planning a wedding while moving across the country. We ended up in Salisbury. And that was fine. We got married. It was a lovely day, and then we were married for, I don't know, a few months maybe, and then I decided that instead of carrying on with the job I was currently doing, which was perfectly nice and, you know, I could work from home, I decided that I was going to quit that and decide to train to be a teacher. So we've basically both quit our jobs, taken a fairly big pay cut, and moved house in the same year that we got married, and it was a bit stressful. We had a nice time, I think.
We did.
But now, both living together in Salisbury, is that right?
That's right. So part of the deal was that I convinced Ilona to come and move all the way from Norfolk down to Salisbury in order to fulfil my slightly selfish dream. And so Ilona very graciously came with me all the way to Salisbury and upended her life as well in Norfolk in order to help me achieve what I wanted.
But the connection to Essex, I think, is through your family, Ilona, is that right? And you were married in Colchester as well in 2022.
Yes, yeah.
There we go, right. So locals. Hobbies and activities. So still following music and opera, is that right?
Still not so much opera. It wasn't that successful for us after the underwear incident. George, for a long time after we got together, was a member of a group which he was very proud of. And it was an all-male a cappella group with lots of dancing.
Also, lots of finger clicking, I imagine, yes. All-male a cappella group.
Yeah.
All right. Camping, I understand, as well?
Yeah, nice camping.
Yes, yeah,
Very good tent.
And Ilona, have you taken up any sports recently?
I have, yes. I've since moving to Salisbury, so the southwest is quite big for rugby, so I've taken that up, which has been great.
Can't imagine why he was concerned about your relationship with Lizzie. Happiest day?
I think our wedding day.
Yeah.
I think that genuinely was the
best
by
day.
far the happiest day, yes.
Yeah.
And I think you've also mentioned a trip from Norfolk to the Outer Hebrides by car.
Yes.
By minivan, is that right?
Yes, it was
Yes.
a minivan that we'd borrowed for a week or so.
It was an old 1970s VW camper.
Yeah.
And we naively thought driving it the hundreds of miles, thousands of miles, I don't know, from Norfolk to the Outer Hebrides would go without a hitch. And we didn't take into account the inaccurate fuel gauge. Or at least that's our story.
Yes.
when we were stuck on the side of the motorway by Doncaster.
Yeah. We ended up in a low loader all the way back to Acle.
So you returned in a low loader with a broken minivan on
Yes.
the back.
Yeah.
And are still together.
And are still together, yes.
So a year and a day, and you haven't regretted being married.
Certainly not.
No.
If you wait there'll be some questions.
So, Miss Clark, Miss Daniels, will we be hearing any or seeing any dancing as part of your claimant's case?
Not for the fee you're paying.
I understand. For the bacon.
Thank you very much indeed. Still sticky, sorry. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I think it's very important that we give the Flitch to people who deserve it, people who are upstanding in the community, people who we would like to become like, if you know what I mean. Not a politician. There we go. So we need to look up to these people, and I just wonder, ladies and gentlemen, whether a burlesque dancer and a man with Rudolph pants is the right type of couple that we need to give the Flitch to. I wonder if I may be very rude in asking you, but I just need to check, George, are the Rudolph pants are on today?
I can confirm they are not.
They are not, which is at last. But please bear that in mind when you're thinking about the Flitch. Where does it? And it's very funny, I must admit, mind you, as young people, possibly going on Love Island at some point, you're thinking, actually, that sounds amazing, burlesque dancer and the pants as well. And your parents, Ilona, they were involved in the trials in the early 1990s. Do tell us more.
Well, they were both, my parents, who are happily married, I think, were both lawyers. They met when they were training, and they were invited, I think because someone had had to pull out, both to act during the Dunmow trials. And they had a lovely time. A baby was there. We think it was my brother, and he wasn't very well. And they said they don't have many memories other than trying to perform and do the best job possible while worrying about the baby behind them.
Oh, crikey, imagine that.
Well, but I think they had met some very interesting people, including a couple who were married during the Blitz in a church that had been half bombed. So they have very interesting stories about that.
So here you are. So you've followed on, really. So we've had the council, and now we have you up there. Did they advise you to come to it, or were they hard-hitting and said to you, when you get there, you'll get a person like Sadie Nine who'll just attack you for being a dancer of that sort and wearing those type of clothes?
I've had a lot of practice arguing with my lawyer parents.
I suddenly feel I'm well out of my depth here, actually. There we go. So now we've heard about, George, that you decided to take your full-time dentistry job and you moved right across the country. And then, of course, you left Ilona as the only main earner. And then a year later, Ilona, you decided to retrain as a teacher and went right across to the other side of the country, miles away from each other. And years ago, you moved to Austria for a year. Do you actually like each other? Yep. Well, it's hard to see that. But anyway, there you go. But what would you say? Now, we've heard about your background, but we can gloss over that. So what would you say to the jury? I think I'm so funny, and I'm obviously not. What would you say to the jury to persuade them to give you the Flitch? Because at the moment, I would say you're on slightly rocky ground.
I think we've been through a lot. We've had an absolutely brilliant time. We're not always able to be together. We know a lot of people who've found that very hard, and we've never once found it difficult because we've always found a way. And usually it involves making each other laugh and just doing silly stuff, really.
There are very, very few people who would agree to upend their life, move across the country, all in the name of something that their partner really wanted to do, despite the negative effect it would have on their life. And I will always be completely indebted to Ilona for agreeing to do that and never once making me feel bad about it or complaining or making me feel as
Yes, okay, that's enough.
I also love bacon.
Hey. I've told you once. Right now. And then finally from me, last Christmas, George, you got out his saxophone for the first time.
That's not a euphemism.
Do you have any children?
No. Not yet.
No, but you're practicing.
Now the saxophone's out.
Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case. No children as yet. Burlesque dancer, silly pants. What can I say? Do they deserve the Flitch? No. Oi. Oi.
Two matters there, with Sadie at Miss Nine arresting her case just before her junior counsel was about to give the closing submissions on her case. But I'll sweep over that. And we're also taught at bar school to, when you cross-examine, to ask closed questions rather than just tell the jury everything you want to in order to improve your case. But we'll get you then. We'll get you then. We'll get you to the bar. It's fine. We'll get you there. But maybe not this year. Miss Stone, now, is it before you give your speech on behalf of the bacon, is it right, you've won an Olivier Award?
Yes. I have won an Olivier Award. Got bronze in the toilet. No, that sounds wrong. That's where I keep the statue.
There we go. It's very important Olivier Award, but there's only one person here who won the reading prize at school. Thank you very much. Yeah. And that's not downstairs. Miss Stone, for the bacon.
For the bacon. So we heard the questioning from Mr. Tim Clark, KC, but can we really trust a man who is only a consonant away from fried chicken? George, you might be a dentist, but you are not going to receive a plaque if you win.
Oh. Well done.
Strap in. They might have met during Mozart, but can they handle the bacon? Hey. Ilona, why do you even need pork when you clearly saw so much when you first met George? So does this couple deserve the opportunity? I say no. Thank you.
Hey.
Marvellous.
Mr. Daniels.
Yes, my lord, no puns from me. You'll be pleased to know. Members of the jury, let's embrace the reindeer in the room, shall we? If you were writing, for example, I don't know who would, a children's television programme, George's magical underwear might be the one you go to. But you may think that it's not merely that his underwear was magical. We also hear that his... Sorry?
You said munderwear.
Save it for the last trial. Not merely his underwear that is magical. We know that the mother's underwear and various other bits of their washing fly as well. So what we really have here is a couple who are living in a Snow White house. We've heard a little bit about marriages that flourish at a distance. And some marriages do flourish at a distance. My wife's been in Portugal this week. Happy days. We've also heard, members of the jury, I'm going to be absolutely clear about this, about an all-male a cappella group. And what we need to remember is George isn't doing it anymore, which has got to be a positive thing. We also hear about parents that were, you may think, the most important people within the Flitch trial process, the lawyers, the counsel, and that too must stand in their favour. But most of all, we know that this is a couple that spent weeks together in a camper van going from Norfolk to the Outer Hebrides and back. Now, if that isn't, as my learned friend Mr. Clark tells you, if that isn't a demonstration of someone or a couple that are capable of spending a year and a day in each other's company and still want themselves wed, what is? And then finally, and more importantly, we know, of course, and you won't, members of the audience, that one of our jury members farms pigs. We know that George is keeping the bacon industry afloat. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Members of the jury, you know the drill now. It's my role to sum up to you in a fair, impartial way. It's your position to make the decision on behalf as a juror dating back to the 1100s. Important decision that you have. You've heard the evidence, you've heard the submissions. So this is what you need. So we need to have a couple who are married, and that's been proven, and married more than a year and a day, and that's been proven as well. But whereas the couple this morning been married for 15 years, date of birth for Mr. Rolls, date of marriage for Mr. and Mrs. Rolls, 25th of June 2022, so more than 2 years, so that's covered. And you might think, actually, I call it the Flitch paradox. The shorter you've been married, obviously, the happier you're likely to be, and the less likely that you are to wish yourself unwed. It's the guys who've been married for 50 years who've been having every single time the loo seat is still up, and I've been asking you to put it down now for about 30 years. But what it means is that you don't have that history there of the things that have gone wrong. But we don't want things to go wrong in a marriage. We want things to go well. And the issue is of moving and changing course with the work and your employment that you do, it does require commitments and it does require concessions. And to be able to stay together, that is something you might think this couple are happily married and they're stuck in here for the long run. So issues such as whether someone's been caught with their pants down, whether they've been involved with is the marriage of Figaro, or is it you would find a marriage of convenience, whether you think this marriage with a dentist is like pulling teeth, or whether you're worried about someone getting their saxophone out, is very little really to worry in this case. That it'll be for you to make the decision, and in a moment I'm going to invite you to do that. And obviously I'm entirely neutral, but you might find that the case put forward by the claimants is a compelling one, but ultimately that is, of course, a matter entirely for you. So, members of the jury, I will now invite you to retire to consider your verdict.
Call the jury keepers. Oh, they're coming out of every angle now, aren't they? In the good old days, when we used to have policemen in Dunmow, we only needed one officer to come and do the jury. But now we've had to rely on the Metropolitan Police
Greatest police force in the world.
Cut. We have to have two. Right.
One has to look after the jury, the other has to keep their eye out for the carrots.
Right. Right, let's have a look. Raise your right hands. Now,
Which one's that?
that's this one over there. Now then, do you want help or can you manage it on your own this time?
Well, we're going to see if you get it right this time.
No. I've got to change it each time to keep you on your toes.
Okay, well,
Right.
you help us out, sir.
I make solemn oath
I make solemn oath
that I will take this jury
that I will take this jury
to a place of safety
to a place of safety
where they may consider their verdict,
where they may consider their verdict,
having listened to all the evidence,
having listened to all the evidence,
without let or hindrance,
without let or hindrance,
and I will defend them
and I will defend them
from all interference
from all interference
in accordance with the Flitch Trials law.
in accordance with the Flitch Trials law.
Bit different, wasn't it?
Yes. You'll perhaps get it in the right order.
Keep you on your toes. No, you can't do that. Right. Let's go.
Right. We go as well. Oh.
Let's go. All stand or rise, whatever you want to do, I don't mind.
Needs to be a little bit longer then.
Right. Members of the jury, are you agreed upon your verdict?
We are.
How say you? For the claimants or for the donors of the bacon?
We find for the donors of the bacon.
We've won.
Oh dear, oh dear. They've turned nasty. And is that the verdict of you all?
No.
Judgment for the donors of the bacon.
This, Mrs. Rolls.
I feel really bad.
I don't.
This, Mr. Rolls, you've come to us. You've put your claim in for the bacon. You've set out to the jury and to the audience, and you are to be commended for doing so. But the nature is we abide by the decision of the jury, however maverick that may be. And the jury have found for the donors of the bacon who have, according to custom, agreed you shall receive a gammon of bacon, and I therefore so award. Now, a round of applause for Mr. and Mrs. Rolls as they leave.
We get the next one. We get the next one straight in, shall we?
We're listening to this program. We're listening to this program.
I've only done 8 of these.
Diving behind the joke.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Mr. and Mrs. Rolls, George and Ilona Rolls. Are you here? Would you come up? Would you come up? So unsuccessful thanks. I'm sad I can't present you with a Flitch of bacon, but you will be getting a gammon. There'll be a certificate. You will get the gammon, and we'll give you a bottle of bubbly. It's the best we can do for you. George and Ilona.